We've had 13 years of a Labour government who had the opportunity to reverse those attacks on working men and working women. And I've not come here to attack Labour, but I'll tell you something what I've come here to say. It's no good prospective Labour MPs coming up here and saying about the wrongs of this condemned government. It should start putting a programme in place, what it intends to do if it got re-elected. First of all, by repealing every single anti-trade union law that was passed by the Tories. It should turn around and say it's going to reverse the university attacks on children who want to better themselves. And people say, how can you afford it? Of course you can afford it. If you can find billions of pounds of weapons to cause mass destruction, you can spend billions of pounds to construct a society in a society that we want. Look about this rotten government, and they are a rotten government, this lot. Both the Conservatives and the Liberals, what they're doing. They're going to tell every single one of you here today that if you're unfairly dismissed by an employer that sacks you wrongly, by discriminates against you, first of all, you could go to a tribunal after 1 year. Now it's going to be 2 years. And by the way, I shall say to the Labour Party, they should bring unfair dismissal in from day one. Why is it that you can go 364 days and they can sack you, and they sack you unfairly, but you can't do nothing about it? But if you do 1 year and 1 day, you can go to a tribunal, or under the Tories, 2 years and 1 day. If you've been unfairly dismissed, it makes no difference. You only worked in a company for a minute, or an hour, or a day. Unfair dismissal means unfair dismissal. But this rotten lot, what they're going to do now is this. Every single one of you that goes to a tribunal will have to put 250 quid up to start. And then when you get your hearing date, a further 1,200 quid. That's without any kind of legal assistance on top. So a person's got to find 1,500 quid. And I've come across people who say to me, well, there's no need to be in a union, because if I get in trouble, my mate can represent me in a tribunal. Well, you better be a good mate, because you better find 1,500 quid for you if he's that good mate, because he's going to have to represent you when you go to a tribunal in the future. And what's Labour said? Labour ain't said nothing. They should come out now. They should be here today in the leadership of the Labour Party. It's no good them going to Switzerland and Geneva to talk about ILO conventions and talking to the captains of industry. They should be rubbing their shoulders with working men and working women and say that we're on the side of workers that are being attacked. Brothers and sisters, we need to now start saying what we're going to do to get rid of this government and make it absolutely clear. There is nothing bigger on the agenda than getting rid of this government. We marched on the 26th of March. They said that the trade union movement was dead. It was the biggest ever march that this country's seen. With the trade union movement halved in the last 30 years, more people turned out the streets than ever before. If the trade union movement was dead, there was a lot of lively corpses walking around London. That's all I can say. And the reality is, on October the 20th, both here and in Glasgow at the marches, we need to say that marches are important, but we need to go further than that. It's no good us applauding people in Spain and Greece for going to general strike. We should argue the case here. If it's good enough for Spanish and Greek workers to have a general strike, then we should have one in Britain as well against this rotten government. What did the Ignan stand for? The Ignan stand for free education and education at the point of need. They understood it was part of the social campaign to have hospitals and to have decent health. The National Health Service, when it come about as years of struggle. Those men that went to war to fight fascism in 39 to 45 weren't going to be duped like they was in 14 to 18 to come back to a world of poverty. They come back and said, enough's enough. We want jobs for people. We want decent housing for people. We want free education. We want to have our pensioners to live in dignity. And we want a world that lives in peace. And that's what it's all about, brothers and sisters. We want those issues. They're very easy to say. They're achievable if you want it. And I'll tell you what it's called. It's called socialism. And some of these people who espouse themselves to say that we're members of Labour, but then scared to turn around and use the word socialism. Well, I'll tell you something now. Socialism may have failed in the Soviet Union, But I'll tell you what, capitalism has failed mankind. Capitalism cannot give people full employment. It can't give people jobs. It breaks us into wars and it ends in social deprivation. Brothers and sisters, let's celebrate the Higdons. Let's celebrate the struggles. But remember this, we've got a bigger job to do and a bigger agenda. And that bigger agenda at the end of the day is to have a different kind of world. And if we don't start giving these young kids some hope out there, to say there will be a better world, there will be jobs, there will be houses, there will be free education, then they will drift to the likes of the EDL and they will drift to the right. We've got to turn around and say there's a better world and we can do it. And meetings like this give us the opportunity to reaffirm our faith, reaffirm our belief, reaffirm our commitment to the principles of socialism, our principles of industrial fighting. I'm a militant, I'm proud to be it